Hey guys, Gavin here. Late night, just done a long day of personal training since 7 o'clock this morning, and it's 25 to 11 now. So, as you can imagine, doing a lot of one-to-ones, helping a lot of people with their health and fitness, which is great. I'm outdoors a lot, so um, my body's become more in tune with the elements and the cold. So I feel that I'll be perfectly primed for this winter, so I'm less likely to get ill. I'm getting plenty of vitamin D from the sun, and also my body's, like I said, becoming more finely conditioned with the environment in which I live. Um, the whole issue with heating and energy this winter is going to hurt a lot of people because they haven't primed their bodies for what's around the corner. If we get another sharp decline in temperature, like we experienced January last year in 2021, where we had snow and blizzards and whatever else, and we've got energy shortages. Unfortunately, a lot of people, even here in the UK, could freeze to death. Some people may think that view is quite extreme, but if we look at the statistics here in the UK, people are still dying of starvation. We have a huge issue with homelessness. Um, we have a huge issue with mental health. Knife crime is at an all-time high. Death by suicide, death by mental health is on the rise. Indirect death as a result of obesity has been on the rise for many years, something that I talk about quite openly. There's a lot of ways in which we can die. As humans, over many years, have been quite tyrannical in our ways of thinking and ideals. If you look back at history, if you look back as far as the likes of the Great Crusades, many people were utilised as what I could only describe as cannon fodder for the pursuit of one crazed individual's conquest. If you look back even further, if you look back to the times of the Romans, obviously with the likes of the conquering of most of Europe and North Africa's, the Romans had a lot of land grab, and obviously there was a lot of issues around the Germanic areas, which then contributed partly to their demise. If you look back even further, if you look at the likes of ancient Egyptians, and you look back at the Egyptology period, the expansion in which they created was immense, and the technology that was around at that time was amazing as well. And there's a lot of arguments that a lot of the Great Pyramids and burial locations and amazing pieces of art were made by slaves, but actually, matter of fact, some other arguments have been that they've been made as a result of paid skilled workers, because such works were of high skill. So naturally, it makes sense to incentivize people. So I've gone off on a bit of a tangent. I'm talking about history, and there's a lot of learning curves you can get from history, and there is a point to me directing you down this narrow path of historic events and a few moments. So I've talked simply of the likes of Richard the Lionheart. Obviously, I've touched briefly on the Roman period, and then obviously in brief, ancient um, Egypt, and I could go back even further. And I'm a big fan of history. I do bore people with detail. I've been to Egypt 3 times. I've studied Egyptology. I've been around the world. I'm very privileged to have travelled to different locations, and you learn a lot about cultures. And if you're ignorant, you don't learn. You're ignorant to the past, and unfortunately, I find today people quite often not are ignorant to human history and don't even know what happened 30, 40, 50 years and before that period. I've studied in great depth the First and Second World War and what contributed to those periods. I've identified with the Second World War in some great depth. Why? Because my great uncle was in the Battle of Britain. He fought to save his country. My grandfather was shot 7 times in Dunkirk, put on a stretcher and brought back to the UK and nursed back to good health by the woman he decided to marry in the future, and that was my nan. They've both since passed. But there's history there. There's a reason and understanding to why I've gone down this rabbit hole, to understand why we do what we do as humans. And it's simple. It's by understanding history. It's by understanding the extremities in which humans have done to not just themselves but to one another. It makes sense of why we do what we do today. So unfortunately, in all the governments around the world, we have crazy tyrannical individuals with no care to their people, and the only care they've got is to themselves and to those who they serve. And in to put it bluntly, the people in which they serve are the owners of these big consortiums and giant corporations, and probably there's corruption behind the scenes at a higher level which we're not aware of. Why is that? Because you just got to follow the money, guys. You just got to see where the money flows. And if you look at the traits of humans in the last, well, ever since humans have been around, greed, control, power, land, there's always been divide because of religion, because of language barriers. In recent years, it's been culture and racial. There's a lot of issues in today's culture, and it's quite funny. I've had about half dozen messages from people saying, "Oh, Gav, it's nice to see you finally woken up and you can read through all the BS and what's happening with the WEF and with the UN and with what's happening with all the governments and with what's been happening the last years." I'm not sorry to say this. I've always known what's going on. I've just never been vocal to it because of the fact that my main narrative for so long has been fitness and music. I do what I enjoy, and I enjoy keeping fit, I enjoy sport, and I enjoy music. But what I don't enjoy are tyrannical, crazy ideals, lockdowns, a forced agenda. I do not enjoy seeing loads of people I care about die. I do not care to see or hear of friends going to the wall, watching their businesses be destroyed. I don't care to see the governments and the elite with their own hidden agendas trying to crash the pound so some people can monetize off the back of that. I don't care to see all the major corruption. What I care about is the individual who might be a single parent who's got 2 kids to feed, and they're dependent on the food bank, and the food bank's running out of supply because they can't get the resources quick enough because there's such a high demand. And it just damn right, excuse my French, if you're a bit prone to being a bit of a snowflake, probably close your ears at this point. it just pisses me off. It boils my piss. It genuinely annoys the shit out of me seeing the fact that Western culture and the society that I live in is falling apart. And I can only put it down to a few things. One is we have no real good leadership. It doesn't matter what party you look at in the UK, especially Labour or Conservative, they're all a bunch of tossers. They ain't got a clue what they're doing. They're misguided, misrepresenting the people. They have destroyed people's livelihoods. The lockdowns were never healthy to start with. The statistics coming out now are clear. It's clear to everyone. Well, sorry, I'll rephrase that. It's clear to those who haven't got their heads stuck in the ground, who are not sheep, that something bad's going on, and it doesn't take two brain cells to identify with the fact that all the propaganda and all the crap and corruption that we've had to be subjected to throughout 2020, 2021 was all falsified and in the benefit of, big corporations who've got something to sell. At the end of the day, I know about sales. I've been in business all my life. If I've got a product and I'm trying to get it to the masses, if I could get the government to finance it, market it, and help roll it out, happy days. But please explain to me why now I've seen and know of more than 10 people to have died in the recent years. I'm 37 this year. I have lost a lot of people over the years, but I've lost over 30 people I know. But that's only because I'm massively connected to a lot of people. I've connected with tens of thousands of people. The average person probably doesn't have 100th of the connections that I've ever made. I'm a very vocal person. I meet and greet people all the time. I do personal training, DJing, I network all the time. I have done throughout my whole life. But between the ages of 15 and 32, I lost over 30 people, friends, family, people I know were murdered, cancer, heart disease, heart attacks, different illnesses, cancers. And then things settled down. 2019, I lost 4 people. Late 2018 into early 2019, I lost 4 people within 3 months. So before COVID happened, before the 2020 lockdowns and tyrannical changes, I was already psychologically prepared for the traumas that were to happen, because I'd already been through years of hell. I'd already lost a lot of people. On average, from the ages of 15 to early 30s, I lost someone on average every 6 months. So you become quite hard and immune to your emotions. You could describe it as being, say, emotionally resilient. And I can just read through the BS. Like I say, I've been in business since I was a child. I'm emotionally resilient, so therefore, rather than getting too emotionally attached to death, I can just look at it with a clear set of eyes. I have been on national radio and TV several times over the many years, and I understand statistics. And I also identify with the fact that everyone's got a mobile phone device and they've got Google. I'm also very privy to the fact that a lot of things that we are privy to in Western culture is censored. So therefore, a tinfoil hat moment, not everything we see online is true, nor is it of true fact. A lot of things get hidden as well. But I guess what I'm trying to say in this video is it's all going to unfold. There's going to be a lot more tension, especially here in the UK. I can just feel it. I know that there's a lot of increased criminology. I also understand that there's more knife crime than ever. I understand that there's more cultural rifts here in the UK. I can hear each and every day that there's a higher dependency on food banks. I'm also hearing that mental health is on an incline. I see people walking around with masks still scared. People find it hard to have face-to-face communication. And quite generally, because of what the UK government have done to their own people, most people are fucked. Mentally, emotionally, physically. It's sad to see. There's a lot of influencers out there who will never be as outspoken as I am on this subject, because they're scared of their corporate image and their fancy sponsors. I just don't care. I'd rather the truth get out, and the fact that we've all been had. And I'm shocked to see that those who were pushing the sale, the prescription of I can't say the phrase, but we all know what I'm referring to. The thing in the arm. That there's got to be some answers. People cannot be blind to what's going to happen. If we get huge increases in loss of life over the next few years, and people are still blind to it, I will be shocked. To be honest with you, more and more people are becoming censored. If you look at those who are wanting to speak out more, those who are more of a celebrity culture, they're scared to speak out because of the loss of their endorsements, to have their earnings cut. They're scared to be vocal because of the fear of losing their careers. Me, I'm just at a point in my life where I'd rather just be as open and as transparent on my thoughts and feelings, because I grew up in an age where free speech wasn't being suppressed like it is today. So here I am in my most transparent self, after a full day of helping people with their health, having a little rant and rave in front of my YouTube channel. But yeah, like I say, I think things are going to get much worse before they get better. I feel that for a lot of people, I've said in my previous videos, I'm expecting huge issues with food, not so much in the UK, but definitely worldwide. Giant food shortages. A lot more people are going to starve over the next few years in 2023 to 2025. I would be very shocked if we do not get a global depression, but I feel that the governments will try and just shut it off as a recession. And I'll also be shocked if people are still blind to the amount of people who are likely to die over the next few years. And also, I'd be completely shocked if nothing's been done or said. So there we go. Touched on a few negative points tonight. Just highlighted a few societal things that I've noticed, a few things that I've seen in society. I just think that the world's been ruled by a lot of weak-minded individuals, and a lot of corrupt people at that. And it's quite true what they say. If it's all well and good having tough men out there, but if they've got their heads in the sand and not saying anything or doing anything, and we're being ruled by weak people, more destruction will come. That's not a saying, it's just describing what's yet to come. And like I say, some people might be watching this and thinking, geez, you're a bit full on, mate. Life's great for me. Well, that's good. But even if you've got a 6-figure income or a 7-figure income or an 8-figure income, if you've got a mob of people who haven't fed themselves properly in ages, and they're coming down to your house to rob you blind, balaclavas, claw hammers and knives, well, you're going to be pretty upset if you can't get the police out because they're dealing with some other major incidences. And that's what could happen. And take it from me, I was armed robbed, claw hammer and knife at the edge of my bed at 4 o'clock in the morning a few years ago when I was staying at my friend's pub in Weston-super-Mare. That's another long story, I'll talk about it later on. Did I get any phone calls, follow-ups from the police? Got one interview to take a bit of information. Did I get anything afterwards? No. Was I asked, was my psychology alright? No. And that's the problem with today's society. You could be a victim of great trauma and nothing gets happened. It just gets put underneath the rug. I've had friends who've had machetes through their hands. One friend's been stabbed like 16 times going to the aid of a girl, minding his own business. I was at his bedside a few years ago. One friend's a security guard's been stabbed in the shoulder. I know a lot of people who've been subjected to street violence just by being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And again, you might be watching this and thinking, well, this sort of thing won't affect me. But it will if you've got several million people at the point of desperation. I kind of feel, does the government want civil uprising to give them even more power and authorization of further lockdowns because people have gone overboard? Well, again, tin forward hat moment, that could be what could happen in the future. It's as if they want just complete control, and it's so obvious. You only have to look at the WF website to identify with all this. It's various things that I say in my videos. It's apparent, it's on their website. So for those fact checkers out there, buy Klaus Schwab's latest book. I've read it. It's quite concerning. I've looked at their website. I've looked at who's involved. I've looked at the business endorsements, the the individuals behind it. They're telling us what they're going to do, and yet we're all blind to it. And the funny thing is, they're on the last laugh because, yeah, we're going to do that. We told you. Oh, okay. There's a lot of concerning issues which are going to arise over the next few years. And personally for me, I've got a plan, but I can see that a lot of people are going to get blindsided, especially those who think they're indestructible, those who are arrogant enough to believe that they'll never be hurt by an economic decline or a depression, those who feel that the gravy train will always happen, because people don't plan for the worst when life's great, but they tend to jump ship and change the narrative when things do. And I've seen how inflation has changed people over the last 6 months. I've been reading the signs since the start of last year. I knew it was coming. It was hurting me at the start of last year. I had to make changes, great changes at that. I had to diversify from products to more services in the last year. And I've got friends now who are being blindsided, but they wouldn't listen last year. But everyone wants to listen when suddenly the crazy guy's ideas last year are finally reaching your ears because the media are talking about it. Oh yeah, Gav was talking about inflation last year. Oh yeah, he was also saying that they tend to use heavy inflationary they usually use interest rates to keep inflation down. Oh yeah. All right, yeah, he was talking about that a year ago. And that's the frustration, with speaking to most people, because most people are dumb and they don't want to listen. They're too busy watching the latest box soap drama. No one wants to feed this. No one wants to look at the history of things. No one wants to look at the future of things. They're all too consumed with the now and what's this celebrity doing and what's happening on the latest episode of bloody EastEnders. Brain dead. If you're watching this video and you're right at the end of the video, you, my friend, are probably a bit open to what's around the corner. Now, I hope I'm completely wrong. I hope that we don't get further tensions. I hope that food banks get resolved. I hope that inflationary pressure on the UK gets resolved and we don't get chronic interest rates and it wipes lots of people out and tens of thousands of people extra become homeless. I hope that people hold on to their homes. I hope that I'm completely wrong. I'm talking out my arse, but these things have happened before. Historically, there's been tensions around the phrases of nuclear war. There's been 2 world wars. Technically, we're indirectly in a 3rd world war. What do I mean indirectly? Well, it's obvious that the UK and USA are heavily engrossed with supporting Ukraine. Well, what happens when, this is going to throw you off one, and I'll finish the video in a second. This is a different video I need to touch on entirely. Again, tinfoil hat moment. Yeah, the China and Taiwan conflict. Well, that's going to be a shitstorm. And then you've got issues and tensions with India, Pakistan. Then you've got historical issues with over in Israel. And suddenly, it could be a giant powder keg. There's only so much resources, and suddenly the world is literally at war. And historically, it's always happened when there's blood on the streets in the financial markets. So you need to do your own research. If you've never listened to these sort of videos before, I appreciate I'm a man about fitness, and this channel's primarily been used for fitness and nutrition advice for many years. I am completely going off topic, but this content here is for those who are a bit more clued up to what's happening in the world today and just wants a bit more insight to the chaos. And like I said, this is just my viewpoint entirely. I'm a hardcore history geek. I have books which were written by Winston Churchill. I have books from Shakespeare period. I studied Egyptology. I've studied history within human civilization up to 10,000 BC, and war, tensions, land grab, like personal gain of the few individuals at the mercy of the many has been a pattern that's occurred over the many years, and it's happening again. And the only way we're going to get stability in this world is when a lot of the corruption comes to light, and a lot of the weak tyrants kindly do one. So there we go. That's the end of my video. That was 30 minutes long. If you can kindly give the video a thumbs up, if you can give me a subscribe, that'd be awesome. I don't apologise for being direct, honest, and share my viewpoints. I do listen to a lot of very well respected journalists, global journalists on different platforms. I do make my own judgment call on things, but like I say, I've been on national radio and TV. I have to look at the facts. I'm looking at the figures. I'm looking at the damage caused after the tyranny in 2020, 2021. The facts and figures are there. I kind of feel that people are blinded by other distractions at the moment within the media. And I look at history and I look at how the human race has always been. It's always been a weird and wonderful place to navigate. We've had times of peace and and prosperity, and we've also had periods of turmoil and great stress. But again, it's understanding the way history evolves and the way the human race has evolved, that I find that it's an easier way to project the future. You can't always predict the future, but if you learn from the past, you can get a clear understanding where we're going. So there we go. Gav here on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.